All right, so here we go again. We've got another Ellie episode where it's a mentor discussion, and today we are going to spend time with Mike Gambino of Gambino Landscape Lighting. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's a
You're
pleasure.
welcome. Yeah, and we've been having a lot of interest in the discussions towards sales, the sales process, design fees, that whole side of the business. And, a lot of people are interested in, what do you do? How do you approach design or sales, specifically your process? Because you've been doing this for 35 years now. Is that about right?
That's right. Yeah, 35 years.
So I think, of anybody, because you're working this business daily, 6 days a week, you're constantly on the go. I'd love to hear your take on how do you the first question is, how do you approach these projects from a sales perspective, dealing with prospects, moving them into as a customer, and that whole sequence of events and what you specifically do and why?
Well, I guess I probably should start with a little bit of background on how I operate my business. In a lot of these businesses, a lot of business courses will teach you work um, on your business, not in your business. Well, for me, it's always been work in your business. I also work on my business, during my off time when I'm not working in my business. I physically am on the job all the time with the crew, 6 days a week. Trucks don't roll without me. I'm on every single project, whether it's an install, whether it's a maintenance job. For me, it's all the same. We're all together as a group. So we don't have separate trucks going in different directions. We're all together. So my time is very limited, to spend with prospects. So what I want to do is make sure whoever I'm going out to meet with is highly qualified. Um, my website is set up for, I don't know, you probably have seen.
Yeah.
I think it deters more people than it entices because it's really set up to really get the message across that I only really want to meet with people who are serious um, about hiring me because I have very limited time. And when I do go out there, I want them to be prepared. I want them to have done some of their research already. If they're going to meet with several different service providers, which is fine, then what they should do is do that before they meet with me. I will go out there and within one meeting, I will discuss with them what they're looking to do, walk the property, show pictures of my work, which that is a huge part of my presentation,
Yeah.
and also um, bring my fixtures along, which is also a huge part of my sales presentation. I want to get the fixtures in their hands and show them what I use, which is different than anybody else. No one else has what I have. It's all proprietary fixtures, which I have designed, and then we buy in parts. And my sons actually do all the assembly in the shop and sometimes on project sites of the materials. That is, putting everything together, putting the O-rings in, putting the silicone seals, putting the lamps in, connecting the sockets if it's, or putting sockets in, connecting brass stakes if it's a bullet fixture, putting everything together so it's ready, for us to install. So, everything has my name on it. So again, I want to make sure that I'm going to be doing a project that is going to be something that not only the homeowner is going to be proud of, but us as well. But the way I'll structure the appointment is first there's a consult fee. If someone comes to me um, who we've never worked with before, we don't know, and even if they're a referral, unless they're a past client, there's going to be a consult fee, and that's going to depend on how far I need to travel. Typically, I like to do meetings on Sunday mornings if it's possible. At this time of year, it gets dark at 8 o'clock, so we can do early evening meetings as well. But I prefer to do on a Sunday because, Sundays we're doing this actually, we're taping this on a Sunday. It's a good day for me because I'm out in the field 6 days a week. and Sundays are usually an open day for me to unwind or relax and just meet with new prospects. So
Hmm.
that's not always possible. Like I said, a lot of times it is, but a lot of times it's not. So we'll schedule whenever is possible because I like to obviously go there clean, not in my work clothes and work boots that I'm been working in all day. Want to get a chance to make a the best presentation I can, best um, you know meeting with a client and make it worthwhile. So what we'll do is we'll start with a lot of times we'll go inside the house and just get an idea, meet and greet type of thing, discuss what their thoughts are about what they'd like to do. I always want to make sure that they have either seen my work live or they have they've viewed my photographs online or they've seen it somewhere, social media or a website, and want to make sure that they like my design style to begin with. So that's something that I make a prerequisite before we meet. Then what I'll do is I'll meet with them inside the home and we'll discuss what they're looking to do. At that time, what I'll do is I'll hand them my portfolio book, which is full of hundreds of more photos of my work to inspire them and just to give them an idea of my professionalism and what they can expect with their project. And then, well, actually, I'm sorry, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll go outside to the property and we'll do a walk. We'll walk around the entire areas where they want to do lighting, discuss, what they want to do. Then I'll hand them the book, and then they'll go inside, and typically within a half an hour, I'll be by myself, walk around the property, make notes. I have like a worksheet that I will figure how many fixtures of what that I need. So this way, I'm prepared to give them a price right there on the spot. Then what'll happen is I'll call them out of the house. We'll go out to my truck. The fixtures I have are very, very heavy. So, back in the day, I used to, carry a little lighter set of fixtures. Now I carry a lot of them with me. So I'll have them go out to my truck and we'll open up the cases that I have of the fixture samples, put a few fixtures in their hands, describe to them, that we make our own fixtures. We have our fixtures made for us. Actually, we assemble everything. Everything is
Hmm.
proprietary. My name is bonded in the fixture, embedded in the brass of the fixture, either raised or engraved.
Hmm.
So this is a system that is totally personal and not something that we're just grabbing fixtures off of a distributor's shelf and randomly throwing in everything. Everything is being done with pride. And I personally hand place all the fixtures during the install. Uh,
Yeah.
every single fixture's location is decided by me. Every single lamp, as you know, that's crucial to what the design is going to end up, with. So I make sure they understand that I'm on the job at all times. Then if they have any questions or anything they want to discuss during the install, they don't have to get on the phone and try and contact me. I'm there, which makes it really nice. People really like that. After we go through the fixtures, I also show my connections there. We use different connections that most of the industry doesn't use. Our techniques of install are different as well. We do a hub system where each one of our hubs goes directly back to the transformer with conduit. So in the future, if there's any need for future expansion or troubleshooting, it just makes it much easier and less costly to do that. Plus, it makes for a much more robust system and much better built system than just direct burial, which is really the industry standard,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah.
Once I've gone over the fixtures with them, then we'll walk the property again, the area where they want to do the install. If it's a whole property, we'll walk the whole property. And then what I'll do is we'll go over my design ideas. I'll basically describe to them what I want to do, not so much in detail, but enough for them to get the idea of what I want to do. And then if they still are uncertain as to what I'm trying to achieve, I'll open up the book again and say, oh, this is the type of effect I'd like to achieve here and why. Um, Go over all of that detail with them and then ask them if they have any questions. And then I'll say, can I go inside the house somewhere and I could sit down, give me another 10 minutes to just go through my worksheet and figure out what this is going to cost and then present it to them. And then go through the process of trying to close the project right there. I found because of limited time, the cost to do a consult the drive out and the time that's required is usually sometimes between 3 and 4 hours. Most of our projects are not where our home base is.
Yeah.
It's probably an hour, sometimes an hour and a half away. So we have travel time included, involved in going just to meet somebody. You're looking at sometimes up to 3 hours round trip of travel time, plus up to 2 hours of on-site meeting time. You're looking at a 4 hour, sometimes a 4 hour, process.
Yeah.
So again, if they're not going to hire me, I want to make sure that I'm being compensated for that. And it also shows that I'm not begging for their work. It's, some people, most people go for it. They say no problem. They understand. And the people who don't are just, in my opinion, are not really going to be clients of mine anyways. They're not going to spend a couple $100 to meet with me and spend time with me, and get my design ideas. Then they're more than likely not going to hire me anyways. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
100%, but
No,
statistically,
that's pretty good. That's a good way to do it for sure.
yeah, statistically it is
Weeds
proven
out the
over the
tire
years.
kickers. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing that for probably about I'm gonna say maybe 22 years now. I've been getting design. I remember being and you were in the same um uh that group that we were involved in online that time. I remember getting a lot of pushback in regards to charging design consult fees. And I think now, after all these years, I think it's becoming, more popular. I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
adapting it. A lot of tradespeople are, adapting it and going with it because they realize that, in this business it's difficult. There's really no price conditioning. And I'm not going to blame the industry because, um, it's easy just to say, well, and I used to do this, is say, as an industry, we don't do a very good job of educating, which we really don't.
Right.
But it's difficult because the standards are so varied between different companies that on the low end you have people that are obviously putting in along with their landscaping work or other type of work very low end products and not even burying the cable, using taped connections or wire nut connections and
Yeah.
just doing a slam in job and getting a check and then never returning to that project again. And then you have the luxury market, which is what I do, what I cater to, where we are more quality over quantity. We want to do the job right the first time, spend the time it takes to do it right the first time, and also make them a client for life, where
Yeah.
we maintain the property, we maintain the project, we maintain the integrity of the lighting over the long term. And when they do go to sell the house, they sell the house, and the people who sell the house, buy the house, a lot of times we'll pick up our maintenance, and then when those clients move, they bring us into another project because now they've gone to another property that doesn't have our type of lighting.
Sure.
Oftentimes I get people say to me, it just happened the other day, they'll say, "Oh, I drove down the street and you had to have done this job," and they'll say, "Whoa," I'll say, "What's the address? What?" And I say, "Yeah, that's one of our jobs." He goes, "Oh, I can tell right away. Nobody's doing that type of thing in this area." And I would rather do a comprehensive project for someone than just do a little drib or drab type of thing. It's like, as it's hard to just do a section and make it look like a small section of a property and make it look good. If you're doing a whole front yard, that's one thing. But if you're doing like a portion of the backyard and it's kind of difficult to really make a good impression that way. So we don't do any kind of advertising. All of our marketing is word of mouth. It's social, Instagram and Facebook,
Yeah.
and website basically, and referrals. We don't have any type of advertising that we do, which in the past I had tried to do, which when I first started out, and it
Mhm.
was at break even at best. Most of the calls we would get would be unqualified with people who had no idea. And this was before I was charging consult fees. So I spent a lot of time going out to people who were looking to spend $500 on a system, that would be 5,000. At this time, this was going back over 20, 25, 30 years ago, which
Yeah.
now would be probably 25 or $30,000 just to put things into perspective. So there was a lot of lost time and a lot of, a lot of just, people who just didn't have any idea of what we were doing. So,
Yeah. Wow. So, couple questions. One, relating back to as because you do design on site, you don't have a formal
no,
designer that goes in and draws and whatever like I do,
right.
but how does that work for you with the customer that you've or the prospect um towards do they ever have any well no, I guess they probably wouldn't have much feedback on that because you have the full presentation package and all your past references. But how does that all work for you towards trying to sell that?
I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that someone has asked me for a formal drawing. It just very, very rarely happens, and it hasn't happened in a really, really long time. Because if you look through my website, it says it up front. There's not going to be any formal drawing or sketch or plan. And the way I like to work is I don't like to be pigeonholed into a set plan where as if I share that with the client and say, okay, we're going to do this fixture here, that fixture there. I equate it to when you buy a car. You don't ask the car dealer, what type of spark plugs are in the engine, or how does the hose for the radiator
Yeah,
go from the radiator to the engine and so forth. What size is it and all that. This is sort of information that well, my clients are, like I said, very upper scale, and they're just not interested in the meat and potatoes of the install. So what I like to do is I like to keep it very vague as to how I'm going to approach the design, because while I'm on the site, and again, I'm on the site all the time during the whole install, I'll come up with different ideas than I had during the consult. During the consult, you've got a very limited amount of time.
yeah,
Mostly what you're trying to do is just get the client or the prospect to trust you, to believe in you enough to hire you. So I'm not really honing in on exactly how I'm getting a very good idea of the fixture quantity that I need because I've been doing it so long. And very, very rarely am I off about that. And if I am, I'll go to the client and I'll say, I messed up a little bit on this. I'm going to need a little more fixtures and it's going to cost X amount. Are you okay with this? And once we've started lighting up the project, very rarely is there ever an objection. They'll say, go ahead, whatever you need to do, because now they've seen what I can do. But
yeah,
that's very rare,
yeah,
where unless we're doing like another area that we didn't discuss, and that's a whole nother issue. Whereas if we started with the front yard, I'm on site all the time. And this is another good thing to bring up, which I didn't mention. We don't do a reveal at the end where everything comes on at once. Back in the day, it's what I used to do. I found probably 20 years ago, the best way for me to approach an install is to, as soon as the first day arrives on site, we install the transformer in one area that we're working on right away, put the fixtures in, lay all the cabling and everything on top of the ground, and power as many lights as we can. Try and make the biggest impression we can the first night, because to me that makes a huge difference in how the pace and how the project itself is going to go, and your relationship with the client in particular. Because now, once they've seen what you can do,
yeah,
if they were very restrictive with the budget before,
yeah.
most times the budget does not come into play. All of a
That
sudden
fear goes
now,
away. Yeah,
right now they want to expand. They want to do different. What you had originally said. If your budget was limited, now you can expand it, so on and so forth. So that's what we'll do every night. They know they're going to see something different. And I've had people take photos and send them to me with their cell phone. The photos have gotten better with the cell phone over time. We'll talk about photography in a little while and how
yeah,
important that is and how it's been so important to my business. But I know when they send photos to me at night, the first few nights of a project, then I know that, they're really happy. And typically I do that because sometimes we'll get very, very picky clients, and for whatever reason, they'll say, "Oh no, well, it's too bright," or this I'd like to do this way, and a lot of times I'll try and talk them out of their idea if it's not a good idea, like for a specific reason, if the light needs to go there and not in another area because it may cause glare, and so there's another situation where they want to put it, explain that to them. And again, most of the time it's fine. But people don't know what it's going to be until they see it. So
Right.
brightness levels, color temperature, color of the actual light itself is something that people have to see in order for them to say, okay, well, that's what I want, or I want it this way, and then we can make adjustments on the fly. It's just been a great tool. It's been fantastic. And the other fantastic tool that has been great during the install has been, I'll come out early in the morning when it's still dark, no matter what time of year it is. Sometimes I'm out there at 4:30 in the morning, and it's a sacrifice, but you got to do it. Once
Yeah.
I have the lights all on, before we go ahead and start digging and putting stuff in the ground, I'm photographing all of these areas of light, and then I'm going back to my home at night, putting them on my computer, and I'm studying these and saying, wait a minute, I want to move this light. It's a little too hot here. Let me make adjustments before we go ahead and finalize the install and put everything inside conduit. It has just been a fantastic way.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Oh, it's been fantastic. It
it's a
really has
lot
been.
of extra work, but I tell you, that's a great
It's a
way.
lot of extra work. Like I said, it's
It
a lot of
fixes the
sacrifice,
issues right off the get-go. Yeah.
but we don't have to, we don't have to wait. It's just, it's instantaneous, and it's worked out. It's probably been about 15 years that I've been doing this, and it really has revolutionized the business. And, for the most part, people won't even detect, what I'm doing. They won't even say, oh, for them, it's fine. It looks great. For me, it doesn't. Oh, it's a little too hot on the trunk. I need a little more light in this space. Maybe I'm a little
Yeah.
bit too bright over here. I'm not bright enough over here. I forgot, I missed something. I got to put a couple of fixtures over here. And it's just an amazing tool. Even if you're going to shoot them with and I don't, I shoot them with my SLR, my digital. And so I have a really good look at what is actually there. Even if you're going to take some photos with the cell phone, at least you have something. At
Yeah.
least you can get a good rendition of what is actually there, because
Sure.
it's really, really important. And that's going to come into play later on also for your future work.
Yep.
Photos have just been millions and millions of dollars worth of projects have been sold based on my photos alone. People have contacted me for the photos. It's become such a large part of my business. That, and the fact that I have my own, there's three things that have really been three areas that have really, really made my business shine. The fact that I'm on the job all the time, that I'm physically working in the project,
Yep.
the fixtures themselves, which nobody else can get anywhere else, and also the photography, which has helped me market and to sell my work. It's been three areas of my business that have really propelled me to heights that I never thought that I could reach. Really,
That's great.
yeah.
Good deal. Let me ask you real quick about backtracking a little here. When you're meeting with the prospect very at the beginning, and then when you first start talking about numbers, because this is a big problem for everybody, it seems,
Right.
is the pushback on the cost. How do you get around or maneuver through that, I should say?
Well, this is one thing where, I mean, there's not many things I disagreed with Bill Auckland about. There was one thing that he had said years ago, which never made any sense to me. He would say, um, your prospect is going to expect the lighting to be expensive. Don't disappoint them. I have found it to be just the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, you know, for me, when I look at something, I'm going to say to myself, I just think the opposite. When I look at something or if I look at a vehicle and I say, wow, that's going to be expensive. I'm going to be prepared to pay a lot of money for it if I really want it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, and we go back to you know, the price of not knowing, people not really having a good feel for, because the price run the gamut. I mean, you can get somebody to do an install for $1,000.
Yeah.
Somebody will do the same install for $20,000.
Yeah.
So the standards of the industry, there really are none. There's no inspections. Uh, there's no special licensing required, and the products range everywhere from department store, Home Depot, Lowe's type of low end to
Yeah.
super high end, really well made product, and
Hmm.
install techniques and conduit and so forth. And, there's just really no standard. So bidding process is difficult. Most of the time we're almost always going to be the high bidder because of the quality of the install that we do, the product, and also
Yeah.
the fact that we do conduit.
Yeah.
So for us, we try and prepare as best we can to let people understand that this is not something that is, something that's going to last the lifetime of your, it's an investment in your property. It's not
Yeah.
something you're going to need to replace. Whereas most of these other systems that are put in, I don't even call them systems because they're really not. They're just a slipshod type of setup. It's a temporary setup at best because you're going to have nothing but problems with it. And within a couple of years, you'll be replacing them. And that's where we get a lot of our work from. We get a lot of work from, most of our jobs are replacing, we're taking out systems or taking out setups, I'm going to call them, because they're really not systems. Taking out setups that others have put in, and we put a whole new system in, and the clients are super happy because it's trouble-free and it lasts and it's maintainable. So dealing with the price is always a problem because, again, even the highest end clients
Yeah.
don't have an idea, and most of the people they're going to meet with are quoting stuff that is very on the low end. So it's a very difficult set of stairs to climb, even at this point where I'm at, because people have no clue, they have no idea. When you go out to buy, I'm going to bring back an automobile. When you go out to buy an automobile, you have an MSRP, you have a general idea of what it's going to cost. So you've already framed in your mind, okay, well, maybe I can negotiate and get a little better deal than that, and you know what you're getting for that price. When you meet with different service providers, you have no idea what it's going to cost because everybody does things a different way. And it's impossible to even put certain pricing I know I follow a lot of different industries, a lot of service industries I like to follow outside of our industry.
Yeah.
And pond building is one of them that I follow. And I think they've done a really good job of price conditioning. What they do is they'll put pictures of certain size ponds with certain amenities for X amount of dollars. And it can go either way. It could go a little higher, it could go a little lower, depending on the site, depending on access, depending on, if they want to add in more amenities, so on and so forth. But at least before you go out there, people have an idea, okay, this pond that I'm looking at is going to be around 25,000. I'm already conditioned to pay that amount of money, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
With our industry, we really have no way, and I thought about this for long and hard for the longest time, how to present to people before we get out there to give them an idea of what they can expect cost-wise, so they can be conditioned and be ready, be prepared instead of sticker shocked. I don't think there's ever been one client that has not been sticker shocked that I've ever dealt with. I mean, I've closed them in the sale, but I don't think that they ever suspected it was going to cost nearly as much as what it did. They've never said, "Oh, I thought it was going to be less than that." I thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah.
Never said that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an obstacle. It puts us at a disadvantage as an industry, and that's why a lot of systems out there are failures because people don't want to spend much. And there are plenty of service providers out there that will give them exactly what they want for their money, which is not much. And there's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of bad words to be said about a lot of lighting that's out there because it's just not quality. And the designs are not good and the installs are not good. The products are not good. Install techniques are not good. They're not going to last. And, it's created an issue because people don't know what to expect. They just don't know. It's a giant leap of faith for a lot of people.
Sure. Well, thank you for this discussion. I think this is great. We're going to end this as part one.
Okay.
And then we're going to start up with part two next.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.